The Last of Us was one of the highest rated games of its generation, as well as Sony's fastest selling new IP in history. Consequently, it comes as no surprise that The Last of Us Part 2 is currently the most anticipated PlayStation game. But when is it coming out? How will its gameplay be like? Is Joel dead? Who is the girl in the second trailer? And what will the story be about? During the next couple of minutes, I will do my best at answering these and many more questions. Sit back, relax, and enjoy GameGround's everything you should know about Naughty Dog's upcoming masterpiece. Let's begin with the name. Why is it called The Last of Us Part 2? Why is it not simply The Last of Us 2? Well, Naughty Dog says it named it Part 2 for a couple of reasons. It is directly connected to the events of the first game, it retains the duo of the main characters, and together with Part 1 it will form a larger, more comprehensive tale. And while in many ways it will stay true to the original game, it will also be its opposite in some respects. For one, as you might have heard, the game will be focused on hatred between Ellie and Joel, unlike 2013's original, which was more about the love between the two characters. The differences don't end there, however, as gameplay will see major changes too. We played as Joel for most of the first game, but we will play as Ellie in the sequel. It has been confirmed that she will play differently when compared to Joel, and this will likely be reflected in new ways to approach enemies, as well as in new sets of weapons. The fact that we play as Ellie now will certainly affect Joel too. While in the first game he, as the main character, used very diverse weaponry, which included flamethrowers, bows, sniper rifles, etc., it's hard to imagine him using the same weapons in Part 2, as he will be an AI-controlled sidekick. And with regard to weapons, ammo is believed to be even more scarce in Part 2. That would mean a bigger focus on stealth and melee combat, making the sequel even more difficult than the already challenging original. The game's development started nearly 4 years ago, and since then we saw several very important personal changes at Naughty Dog. Bruce Straley, co-director of The Last of Us, Christopher Balestra, co-president of the company, and Amy Hennig, writer of the Uncharted games, all left the studio. We don't really know how this affected the making of the game, but fortunately it is the writer of the original, Neil Druckmann, who's leading the Part 2 team. Along with him, Gustavo Santaolalla, composer of the first game, and the actors who played Joel and Ellie are all involved in the project. Thus, it's safe to say that Part 2 is in good hands. Naturally, new people are participating in the project too. If you're a fan of Westworld, HBO's sci-fi western thriller TV show, well, good for you, because not one, but two ladies from the Westworld team are also working on the game. Writer Hallie Gross and actress Shannon Woodward. We've learned about the latter on Twitter, where Shannon posted a selfie of her in a motion capture suit. In the very same way, we've also learned about somewhat stranger things about the game, including that there will be a motion captured pig and that we might also see horse combat this time around, judging by this shot of the Westworld actor doing motion capture for a scene where her character will be riding a horse while shooting a shotgun. Thanks to the same picture, we also found out that there will probably be a baby present in the story, since a baby-sized doll prop was spotted in the background. We'll talk about this in detail later on in the video. Another thing that we know about the game's motion capture is that it will be better than in any other PlayStation exclusive. Neil Druckmann stated that Part 2 will have by far the most advanced character models within Sony's group, and well, with games like the new God of War, the bar isn't set exactly low. Druckmann also said that in the past, they could never cut to a close-up of eyes in their games, because the fidelity would be too low. Now, in The Last of Us Part 2, it's finally possible, and we've already seen a small glimpse of this in the reveal trailer. And by the way, both of the two trailers we've seen so far, they weren't CGI, they were actually captured in real time running in-engine. Now, while The Last of Us was obviously an incredible offline experience, It also had a surprisingly interesting multiplayer, and the online component will be making a comeback in Part 2. We know this thanks to the fact that Naughty Dog is looking for multiplayer game designers, and that The Last of Us Part 2 is currently the only major project they're working on. When a great game comes out, usually the fans of the title ask the developers to make a sequel. The Last of Us, though, was a rare instance of a game being so great that most of the fans were asking Naughty Dog not to make another one. They were saying that the original's ending was perfect and that no continuation could ever top the first story. Naughty Dog says they thought about this more than anyone and that they wouldn't be working on Part 2 if they didn't think they had the right idea for it. But, well, what is that idea? What will the story be about? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it revolves around hate. Ellie is now 19 years old, and that's about all the official info we have on the narrative. But that can't stop us from speculating, can it? At the end of Uncharted 4, there was this Easter egg, a cover of a comic book named The Last of Us American Daughters. It showed a pregnant woman wearing a gas mask. There is a consensus that it is most likely either Ellie or her mother Anna. Now, if it were Ellie, however, why would she be wearing the mask? She doesn't need one as she's immune. Personally, I lean towards her being Anna for a couple of reasons. First, there's the mask problem, but then we know that Anna was a good friend with Marlene, the former leader of the Fireflies, and if Marlene was a mother too, that would explain the American Daughters title. In fact, back when The Last of Us Left Behind first came out, people were already speculating about Marlene being a mother, specifically about her being the mother of Riley. The two did seem to have a very close relationship in Left Behind, and they also share certain facial features. No, I'm not being racist here, they really do share some facial features, as they even have freckles on the same spots. So, was Marlene Riley's mother, and did we see her best friend Anna on the poster in Uncharted 4? I think it's likely, and the second trailer for The Last of Us Part 2 backs a lot of this up. I am certain that the girl in the second trailer is Anna. Why? Well, for starters, she looks a lot like Ellie, but we know it's not her. In a tweet, Naughty Dog revealed that this character is played by Laura Bailey, who also, by the way, played Nadine in Uncharted 4. And so obviously it's not Ellie, otherwise she would be played by Ashley Johnson. Thanks to the very same tweet, we've also learned that the name of Laura Bailey's character is 4 letters long, supporting the Anna theory. Naughty Dog also implied that this isn't a new character, since they revealed the names of all the characters in the trailer but for her. In addition, there is a hint in the trailer suggesting that the girl is pregnant. Take a look.
They are nested with sin. Free them.
I think it's clear that this is Anna, and what we saw was a flashback sequence. After all, Naughty Dog loves flashbacks. We've seen them in most of their recent games. And finally, this theory gets even slightly better, because we actually know when Ellie's mom was pregnant, and that's around fall of 2018 or early 2019. In the real world, this is the exact time frame in which The Last of Us Part 2 is expected to drop. Is this just a pure accident, or is it a part of Naughty Dog's ingenious plan? I will let you decide for yourself, but from my point of view, this just makes too much sense. The theory about Anna is pretty popular, but there is one that's even more so. As you might have guessed, of course I'm talking about the Joel is dead theory. Why do people think that Joel is in fact dead in Part 2? It's because some things in the reveal trailer are just really strange. Joel appears almost angelically from the light of the doorway, we don't get to see his face at all, he looks suspiciously young, and his clothes are super clean when compared to how Ellie looks like. As for me, I don't really think Joel is dead, or at least it's not as simple as people think. This theory was being widely discussed on the very next day after the Part 2 announcement. I really don't think Naughty Dog would make such an important part of the plot this predictable. But even if he isn't dead, which again I don't believe he is, we can't overlook the strangeness of this scene. And it doesn't only concern Joel, but Ellie too. She seems to be wearing the shirt Riley wore in the Left Behind, while playing the guitar she got from Joel. We know about the guitar from the One Night Live performance written by Neil Druckmann, which included an after-credits scene. Taking place only a few weeks after the game's ending, Joel gives Ellie the guitar and promises to teach her one day. Anyway, back to the trailer. Ellie is sitting in a room where there's a window which looks almost exactly like the loading screen from The Last of Us Part 1. Some fans believe that Ellie's infection is getting worse, which causes her mental breakdowns, and this was one of them. Riley's shirt, Joel's guitar, his strange entrance, the window, and the weird dialogue sure do make it seem like this could have been only a dream or a hallucination.
What are you doing, kiddo? You really gonna go through with this?
I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna kill every last one of them.
Besides the "is Joel dead" question, there's another very commonly asked one, and that is, who is Ellie after? Who is she going to kill? Perhaps Joel is indeed dead and she's after his killers? Or are the Fireflies after her and Joel because of the events at the end of Part 1? This is one of the most mysterious parts of the game for us right now, and all we can somewhat safely assume is that the Fireflies are involved in this in some shape or form. It is more or less safe to say that we know where a part of the game will be set, and that is in Seattle, Washington. Official concept art, as well as scenes from both of the trailers, were compared to certain locations in Seattle, and the results are super impressive. Look at this public parking building on Seattle's First Avenue, next to Part 2 artwork. And this driftwood building. Or these parking signs and ticket machines, which look precisely like the ones in Seattle. What's more, in the Paris Games Week trailer, we can see two road signs. One is green and the other one is yellow. The green one says Columbian Way. Now, both of these signs are in Seattle in real life, and in addition, the architecture of highway pillars in this trailer is completely the same as it is in Seattle. This setting is pretty much all but confirmed at this point. At the beginning of this segment, I mentioned that we know where a part of the game will be set, and that is because it is highly improbable Seattle will be the only location we'll explore in The Last of Us Part 2. In the original, but also in all of the Uncharted games, we always visited multiple areas or cities, and this is no doubt going to be the same in the upcoming sequel. So, thus far we've talked about the game's gameplay, its development, the advances in graphics, what we know about the story, and the biggest fan theories. Finally, there is one more question I'd like to tackle, and that is the release date. The game has been in development for over 4 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's right around the corner. When the game was revealed, we were warned that it was still in early stages, and until August of 2017, the majority of the Naughty Dog team was focused on Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. For those reasons, early 2019 seems like the most plausible launch window for The Last of Us Part 2 in my opinion. We are kind of getting into the PlayStation 5 territory here, as I believe Sony's next console will come out around 2019 or 2020. Make sure to watch my video on that topic if you haven't seen it already. Nonetheless, I really don't think Part 2 will be a cross-gen title or anything, at least not at launch. Instead, it can potentially be sort of a swan song of the PlayStation 4, just like the original Last of Us was the swan song for the PlayStation 3.
She says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die.
Anyways, there you have it. This is about all there is to know about The Last of Us Part 2 right now. Please make sure to put your thoughts on the game, but also on the video down in the comments, and leave a like if you think I should make more stuff like this. Last but not least, make sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon not to miss my upcoming videos. Thank you so much for watching. This has been GameGround. See you around.